Are these?
Yeah,
Mark,
you're here.
Mark, I need to go get a Korea. Go get a Korea. Paul? What's up?
We'll talk about that.
So are you guys talking?
There's a little chair.
No. Okay. Started. Okay. Mom wants.
Here, on a couple. Is mom going to,
No.
just at the, Shiva?
Yeah.
So guys, come around if you will.
Can you get the John opinion first?
Can I get one more?
You did.
You got one?
So guys, look how. Terry, these are, Terry, it's just for the immediate work. It's just immediate. Korea. Words are going to be all the emotions, right? And so our ancestors said see someone and ask them how you doing. And you see this computer in a dome. We are more. There's a passage which you'll see in that put together that says there's a type of tearing. You know that feel. So we tear the sign. So days. Starting tonight. Those chapters really strong by either side of that looks your own fingers. Say it. Look at that, Adonai. Elohim melech haolam. There's an inch. It says, praise to you, Adonai, our God, creator of the universe, the judge of truth. Dark days, start considering what is true. Einatan Adonai. How long we live, it will come. These are two truths. Not just those two words. So many people that they can something. You
How about that?
did you get a?
I'll take her.
Danielle and Ben needed this.
Just Danielle. It's only for
Just
me.
Danielle. Ben.
Okay. Danielle has it.
Yes, Julie has on the room.
Didn't know that.
Guys, come on over. Those who are pallbearers. Oh, yeah.
You want to sit down?
Yeah, go ahead. Two more for pallbearer. مرتمین کلو خاطر تاش بشپن امونا بینا بسکیت یاشو مرتمین زکوکو یو معلومات بعد شریف ما می خیه رود شعب یحو هتسو تمیم بخوب عسي ميو معلومات عسي صديقة تعرض على حبيب وخيوط شبيت بكتون كورخوت خلينا لك هذه قرانين اللي يونا عينك برحمين علينا في الطفوت إلى خادونا رحمين وحاسب الفوت Is someone here who's going to have difficulty standing for a while? We do have some chairs. We'll make sure that you have a need of a chair, that you get one. We're here in shock and in pain and in absolute astonishment that we're here on a Sunday afternoon, not to be with Debbie and Brian and Lauren and the family, or with Mile High Kabbalah, or all the friends of our beloved Larry, for a good time, for a laugh, for enjoyment, that we're here to lay him to rest is almost beyond comprehension. And so I wanted to make sure that we have in your hands the prayers that you can add as well. Of all of the things that we are experiencing right now, and Debbie's loss, our heart goes out to you, and it breaks. And of course, Brian and Lauren and your Mark, his brother, is here and watching his mom, Rochelle, his brother, Paul. What words can we share? What wisdom can we impart? And I think we should humbly admit that we can't find wisdom, but we can find love. And for each of you to be able to have some way of participating, of sharing your voice, just as you wanted to make sure that you come out here today to show and to be present for the family, to say, we're here as your support, we're here to help you through. That's a blessing that you have, Debbie, and I know it means a great deal to you that they've been with you from the moment you found out that they are surrounding you with that love. And so I wanted you to each have, as to best of ability, I think we may have run out of copies, you'll share some of the prayers that we'll place together. And I want to begin with a short chanting of Psalm 16, Shaviti, which speaks of the hope that the spirit that we enjoyed in this life will live on. It most certainly does live on, yes, with God, certainly with family and friends. Shaviti Adonai l'nagit hamid, himemeni ba'alemot, lachen samat libi v'yagid kvodi. אף בשרי ישתום לבטח, כי לא תעזוב נפשי לשאול, לא תיתן חסדך לראות, שחת, תרייני אורך חיים, סוף ושמחות את פניך, נעמוד במנחה נצח. I've set the eternal always before me. God is at my side, and I shall not be moved. Therefore does my heart exalt, and my soul rejoices, by being insecure. For you will not abandon me to death, O God. You will not allow your faithful ones to see destruction. Rather, you've shown us the path of life. Your presence brings fullness of joy. Enduring happiness is your gift. It's words of hope. And all that he loved and all that embraced him in life, that Larry's neshama can take comfort in the fact that his family is loved and good, and they will find that strength to carry on. We're going to have remembrances today and remembrances tonight and tomorrow as well. And there's a great healing power that we find in remembering. And on that very front page, let us read responsively. In the rising of the sun and in its going down, we will remember him. In the opening of the buds and the rebirth of spring, we will remember him. In the blueness, in the rustling of leaves, and the beauty of autumn, we remember him. When we are weary and in need of strength, we remember him. And when we have joys we yearn to share, we will remember him. The 23rd Psalm is on that very next page. And again, it speaks of the acknowledgement of our mortality. but also of a courage that we will find a way to continue on. In Hebrew, Mizmor David Adonai ro'i lo achsar b'not dashi yad b'tzeni. Al neimenu chod yan haleni nafshi yoshevet. Yan chene b'magalei tzedek leman shmo ki. Gam ki elek b'gates ha'mavet lo ira ki adai madi. Shiftecha mishetecha chene yalachnu. Arok lefanai shulchan neged tzolai. Shanta b'shem zivra b'ya. Achtov v'chesed yedovini koye b'chaya. Shabti b'beit Adonai le'orech yamim. Say together in English, a Psalm of David. Adonai is my shepherd, I shall not want. God enables me to lie down in green pastures and leads me beside still waters. God restores my soul and guides me in paths of righteousness for the sake of the divine. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You have set a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You have anointed my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. I shall dwell in the house of Adonai forever. Just before the service, and so many of you have been with me in times of mourning as well. When we tore the Kriya ribbon, I made reference to the passage in Kohelet that we'll read next, a time of tearing, a time of sowing. Kohelet spoke of the changing of the seasons as metaphors for the chapters of our life, the experiences that we have, both good and bad. A season is set for everything, we say together. A season is set for everything, a time for every experience under heaven, a time for being born and a time for dying, a time for planting and a time for uprooting the planting, a time for slaying and a time for healing, a time for tearing down and a time for building up, a time for weeping and a time for laughing, a time for grieving and a time for dancing, a time for throwing stones and a time for gathering stones, a time for embracing and a time for refraining from embracing, a time for seeking, a time for losing, a time for keeping, a time for letting go, a time for tearing, a time for sowing, a time for silence, a time for speaking. Birth is a beginning and death a destination. Life is a journey, a going, a growing from stage to stage, from childhood to maturity and youth to age, from innocence to awareness and ignorance to knowing, from foolishness to discretion and then perhaps to wisdom, from weakness to strength and strength to weakness and often back again, from health to sickness and back we pray to health again, from offense to forgiveness, from loneliness to love, from joy to gratitude, from pain to compassion, from grief to understanding, from fear to faith, from defeat to defeat to defeat, until looking backward or ahead, we see that victory lies not at some high place along the way, but in having made the journey stage by stage a sacred pilgrimage. Birth is a beginning, and death a destination, but life is a journey, a sacred pilgrimage, made stage by stage, from birth to death to life everlasting. This past Shabbat, we read a double Torah portion, Acharei Mot and Kiddushim. Literally, Acharei Mot means after the death, and Kiddushim is holiness. As we gathered together Thursday night at Debbie and Larry's home, stunned and shaken from the sudden death of Larry, the lessons of those readings from our ancestral tradition took on a new meaning. In the Torah, Acharei Mot taught about the aftermath of the tragic deaths of Aaron's sons, Nadav and Abihu. As we recalled, when Moses tried to bring some understanding, some explanation of the terrible loss, Moses' efforts fell short. As the Torah recorded, Vayidom Aharon, after Moses spoke, Vayidom Aharon, but Aaron was silent. Aaron was silent because there are times when the greatest of teachers, even Moses himself, should know better than to try to offer explanations. In the heartbreak and confusion after Larry's death, there was no place for explanations or questions. The life of a good, loving, and caring man was tragically over, and only silence gave us the room to process thoughts and feelings. The second Torah portion is Kiddushim, holiness. And in that extraordinarily important reading, we find the commandment that brings the essence of our faith, what we're all about. It says, "Ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha." You shall love your neighbor as yourself. In the reflection of the pain of loss and mourning, it's for us to realize that it is love that will help Larry's friends and family heal. It is love that will remind us all of the joyous times we shared together, the simchas, the celebrations, the simple pleasures of just being together. So though we gather in grief and mourning, let us take the time to recall the love that was shared. As it was written, "When I die, give what's left of me away to children and old men that wait to die. And if you need to cry, cry for your brother or sister walking beside you. And when you need me, put your arms around anyone and give them what you need to give me. I want to leave you something better than words or sounds. Look for me and the people I've known or loved. You can love me best by letting hands touch hands, by letting go of anger, grief, and frustration, because love doesn't die. People do. So when all that's left of me is love, give me away." Larry was born and raised in Wilmington, Delaware, the oldest son of Rochelle and Edward. Rochelle was watching the service with her son, Paul, and with his beloved Heidi and their children. Larry's other brother, Mark, is here with his beloved Carolyn and their children, and Mark and Carolyn will speak later on. I believe the grandchild is here too. And when she came in, you saw immediately, that's exactly what we're talking about, how love lifted everyone's hearts. In a bit, the family will share loving memories of Larry, including his younger days in Delaware. Let me just share that Larry graduated from the University of Delaware with a business degree. And after graduation, he took a job in Houston, Texas, in the sales department of the National Sweetheart Cup Corporation. And as parenthetically to mention, that to be with a sweetheart from his college days. Well, that relationship ended. But Larry stayed with the company and in Houston, and that is where he met Debbie Shearer. Originally from New Orleans, Debbie was in Texas for grad school and to earn an advanced degree in marketing and advertising from the University of Texas in Austin. And one of Debbie's friends met Larry at a singles dance and had a feeling that he and Debbie would make a great couple. They sure did. It was a blind date with another couple, but for Debbie and Larry, they spent that evening as if they were all alone. They went to Zim's Wine Bar and then to Cody's Jazz Club, which apparently you named subsequent dogs Cody. And they connected immediately. They felt comfortable immediately, and that's how it was. You were natural together. It was clear that they were meant for each other. 6 months later, they were married. It was November 20th, 1982. They were married in the Royal Orleans Hotel in the French Quarter of New Orleans. You can imagine it was pretty magical. 4 years later, Brian was born, and 5 years afterwards, Lauren was born. And for more than 38 years, Larry and Debbie have had the blessings of a loving marriage and 2 wonderful children. For 18 years, they were in Houston. And then Larry took a position as executive vice president of sales for the Koala Company in Denver. It was 1998. They soon joined Temple Sinai and made wonderful friends. Through their chavurah, the Mile High chavurah, and the men's group, and of course through simchas of B'nai Mitzvah and other joyous celebrations, the Lipmans found the loving support of friends and community. Of course, I will always cherish the memories of Larry's broad smile, gregarious personality, and the obvious love that he and Debbie shared. As we listen in about a moment to the stories and loving memories, both now and later on at the Shiva, which starts at 6 o'clock tonight, and we'll have a little service, but most important, you know how it is. We'll just let people share, and we'll do it again tomorrow night as well. But as we hear those loving memories, let us again remember the words of that poem I shared, that love doesn't die. People do. So when all that's left of any of us is love, make sure that love is given. Acharei mot, after the death, let holiness, the holiness of love, prevail. I'd like to call him his brother Mark first, and he's going to share. And tonight, apparently, Mark, of course, with Carolyn and the family. And then tonight, Rochelle and Paul will have something to share.
Larry was a big Eagles fan, so just like any other football team, you need your backup quarterbacks, just in case, because this is really tough. As you can see, I already drafted. What's up, or what up? That was Larry's way of answering my calls. And again, I'm going to really try to hold this together. I'm Larry's younger brother, the middle son, Mark. My younger brother is in Florida with my mother, who is recuperating from a recent fall and preparing her upcoming move to Atlanta. Thank you, Paul, and his daughter, Betsy, for being there for Mom. I was Larry's second birthday present, born 2 years the day after him, sharing September 15th as our birthday. Besides us sharing the same birthday, we were pretty different. Larry was always the outgoing, loud one, and I was always the quiet and shy one. Looking back, maybe I was that sacrificial lamb, enabling Larry to become the communicator that he was. Boy, could he talk and talk and talk and talk. You get the idea. Everyone thought I was quiet, but really it's just that I let him do the talking for me. With Larry as a big brother, did I even have that option? Actually, one thing we did have in common was the ability to wear out socks in the exact same spot on the bottom. On one of Debbie and Larry's more recent visits, Larry and I were sitting side by side in our socks with our feet on the coffee table, and our wives, Debbie and Carolyn, at the same time noticed the identical wear pattern on our socks. So that we definitely had in common. We shared a room our whole childhood, so we had lots of time to scheme. And a lot of that was mischievous in nature. Well, really, or at least the way I remember it, he was the troublemaker, and I would tag along in his adventures. We would go to the charcoal pit, our favorite local diner, and we would play tricks on the waitress where we put the tip in a cup of water and flip the cup, pull the plate out, leaving the cup on the table. In order to get the tip, she would have to spill the water. Troublemakers. One time we snuck into the electric room of our apartment complex we lived in and changed the light timer settings for the whole complex to make it have that strobe light effect. And actually, I don't even remember fully if I was really even there in the room with him when he did it. But I do remember that we both got in a lot of trouble. We had to clean up the entire complex for a very long time, so it seems. Paul, our baby brother, who's listening in, learned early on to become the game of getting Larry and I in trouble. He would always scream, "Mom, Dad, they're hitting me." And meanwhile, we would be in a totally different room. Not to say that we and Larry didn't torture Paul. We did. But he would do his best to make sure we didn't get away with anything. And to thank him for being our favorite baby brother, Larry taught me my favorite game of all, where Paul would become our own human dartboard, and we would just throw stuff at it. Larry and I were different, but we were always there for each other. When I was 14, it was the night before Thanksgiving. 6 hours after Larry got his driver's license, Larry drove me to my SAR fraternity initiation night, and a drunk driver crashed into us. Luckily, we were not injured, but we were traumatized. So for every Wednesday night before Thanksgiving for the past 47 years, we would call each other, and it was always a competition to see who would call the other one first. I guess a rather strange Thanksgiving tradition, but a Thanksgiving won't be the same without our calls. I also need to thank Larry because not too long after that accident in 1976, Larry introduced me to my now wife, Carolyn, at his then Carolyn's graduation party. Again, not Debbie. Sorry, Deb. Larry always had good, strong moral and Jewish values. Although he was not super religious, it bothered him that high school graduation was held on Shabbat. And because of this, those more religious than him could not attend. Larry, along with the help of our dad, got this changed for the entire state of Delaware. All graduations from 1975 and after are now held on Sundays. Larry cared about everyone, even people he did not know. To Larry, there was no such thing as a stranger. Everyone was a potential friend, regardless of their age, the context, anything. He especially loved family so much, and he showed it. One way he showed his love was with nicknames. He was big on renaming everyone. My daughter, Jillian, was affectionately known as Jillbird. Our oldest daughter, Danielle, was Cookham. And now our new baby, the latest addition to our family, Lena, who's back over here, is known as Cookham Jr. His term of endearment. On a side note, if anyone knows what Cookham means, please let us know. He really did have a way to make everyone feel special and loved, and this was just one of them. His family meant the world to him. He called her mother every day during her illness, her recent illness, sometimes 2 or 3 times. He was always so proud of his children. He loved to talk about them, and he loved and adored Debbie, who he always said was his best friend. Saying that he will be missed doesn't begin to describe the loss of her loss. Larry was a presence, a class act. Larry would want us to remember him by being kind to strangers, making corny jokes, giving that extra hug with an extra squeeze to remind the people that you love them, that you love them every chance you get. Debbie, Brian, Lauren, loved. My brother loved all of you very, very much. And don't forget that. Thank you.
Probably meant chacham or chacham or wisdom, the wise one. And she would bring that baby to come and lift up every heart. That's about as wise as you get. Chacham Junior and Brian, if you and Ron will come share.
My mom asked me to say something for her because it is too difficult to speak. Larry and I were married for 38 wonderful years. He is the most generous, kind, and thoughtful person I have ever known. He always was helpful to everyone who needed anything, and of course, with a joke. He will be in my heart forever. I love you, Larry. Dad, thank you for teaching me what it means to be a good person. Anyone who's ever met you or has been in the same room as you has always walked away thinking, what a good, kind, and funny person you are. All I ever remember from our childhood is that you always showed up. You were always there, no matter what, driving me to school, becoming the coach of the soccer team, helping with Hebrew school carpool, and every single airport pickup, even if it was blizzarding outside at 4 a.m., he'd be there. In college, when I found out about my acceptance into semester at sea, I was worried about how to figure all the logistics out in such a short amount of time. I called you up and you said, wow, that sounds amazing. You have to do that. We'll figure it out. You're doing it. I don't know how we'll make it happen, but we'll make it happen. And we did. That's you. That's who you are. You're the guy who goes out of your way to make sure everyone feels loved and welcome in your home, no matter who they are. You've always been there for us, willing to make as much fried matzah as it takes to make sure everyone had some. Thank you for always believing in me, chasing my crazy dreams. You and Mom will always be my biggest fans and supporters. I'll always remember you like that. Thank you for giving me your loud, booming voice, your laugh, your determination, and your blue eyes. I love you so much.
We got this. All right. If you know my dad, then you know that he would have a knack for cracking poorly timed jokes. And you would absolutely know my dad. You know that he would never miss a good business opportunity. Now that I have your attention, if you or anyone you know is looking to buy or sell real estate, I'm your guy. All poorly timed jokes aside, thank you all for being here. As the rabbi stated so eloquently to us yesterday, this is not the reunion we want, but is now the reunion we need. This support system, our friends, our family, it's completely blown me away. It'd be impossible to stand here in front of you if it weren't an unbelievable outpouring of support and love from everywhere. I saw us knowing my father loved his family, along with all of you, our friends, our family. No matter how much I fight against it, I am who I am because of him. Thank you, Dad, for always encouraging us, for standing for what's right, and for always believing in the good of everyone. With that, I would like to say these words from the mourner's Kaddish. May he establish his kingdom during the days of your life and during the life of all the house of Israel. Say ye Amen. Amen. Thank you.
Brother and sister-in-law, son-in-law and sister-in-law, Brad and Madeline. Here. And sit here because it's a solution. Larry was my brother-in-law. He really wasn't my brother-in-law. He was my little brother. The day we met him, we found out
how much of an amazing person he was, how he cared for Debbie, and how when the families grew and we had so the first generation of kids, and we'd be together going to Houston on many occasions, and then on to Denver and sing them on occasions. It was like when you were there with Larry, he was your best friend. We shared a lot of times together as far as sports, as far as business opportunities, and I never met a person that cared to help one another. And I did my best as well. We shared our ideas, even down to my shoes. These Skechers, I told him, I said, these are the most comfortable shoes you can ever get. Lo and behold, Larry had those shoes. And that's why I'm wearing today. When it came to nicknames, it was like, I learned one word from him, even though he says I said it, and then he says, no, you created it. It's Bubbaloo. And we each called each other Bubbaloo, even though he'll never admit that it was his originality. And I'm just the one that just followed through. To this day, I'll remember that name. I'll be using it when I'm playing tennis, when I'm with dear friends. I just want to say to my little brother, I love you, never forget you, and we will miss you dearly. But your presence is always in my heart and with the family.
Okay, I don't have any funny stories, but I do have to say that Larry was like a blood family. He wasn't like a brother-in-law. He was funny, he was corny. And oh my God, when Fred and Larry got together, it was one corny joke after another. But Larry was a big man with a big heart. And he loved everybody and he cared for everybody. And he had a big smile on his face and a joke and a hug. You couldn't get anything different than that. So he may not be here, but he's here. He's here in our hearts. That's all I have to say. Love you, Larry.
I think it's fair to say that an awful lot of people who have stories to share, and there will be an opportunity tonight. Again, at 6 o'clock, we'll have a Zoom Shiva, and people will be able to come on, and we'll have a little service, but stories to tell. And there will be one on Monday night too. We'll figure out the time of that. Now comes the time of perhaps the most difficult part of the service, and that is the lowering of the casket. And we're here for the most difficult of all the mitzvot to perform, the Chalvayat HaMet, accompanying our loved one to their final resting spot. And just as the pallbearers hesitated step by step as we brought the casket here, so too when we have the burial, we'll use the back of the shovel to place the first couple of shovelfuls by the back and then turn it over. We also have, because of Feldman's volunteer nature, earth from Israel. The casket is lowered. We say Adonai Natan, Adonai Lekaki Hisham Adonai Mevorach. God is given, God is taken. Blessed be the name of God. Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher yatza etchem b'tamon. V'zar v'kacheh etchem b'tuvo v'chemit etchem b'di. V'nata b'tochechem chayei olam baruch et Adonai dayan hamet. We praise you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe. You formed us in the divine image. You nourish and sustain us in goodness. You have made us mortal, and yet you have planted immortal life within us. We praise you, O God, Judge of truth. Atagi bol elam Adonai rav lo Mashiach. Mechakeh chayim bechesed mechayei metim barachamim navi. Somech noflim barofecho notir hasolim. Chayem emnoto v'shinei afar. Micha mocha ba'al gevorot u'midom melach. Melech memit chayim esmech Yeshua. Baruch et Adonai noter b'tochenu chayei olam. Eternal is your might, O God, and all life is your gift. Great is your power to save, and with love you sustain the living. With great compassion you give life to all, and you send help to the falling and healing to the sick. You bring freedom to the captive and keep faith with those who sleep in the dust. We praise you, O God, who implanted eternal life within us. This is the first earth that we'll place. It's earth from Mount Olives in Jerusalem overlooking the Temple Mount. It's considered to be the holiest place, the most significant place to be buried. Very few of us have that honor, but Feltman's made sure that we brought some of that earth here to be buried with Larry. So Debbie and Brian and Lauren, I'm going to give you a little bit of this. And Mark, I'm going to give you a couple of handfuls for you, and Paul and for you. All the friends and family. When you are finished with shoveling, don't stand the shovel to the next person. Now to place it back in the earth so that each person will be able to fulfill the mitzvah completely by their own. The first shovel with the back of the shovel. Then here to make sure that it is protected. After you finish, please put the shovel back into the earth. There are two lines. Yes, sir. Please, everyone who wishes to participate, please fulfill this.
I mean, like in Lipman front of the camera.
Oh, no. I'm so glad because I also thinking about that. I mean,
Didn't work.
sorry.
The teachers you have. But I don't think you can do that for a father or brother.
Good to see you. Good to see you. Well, we have a house in Kentucky, but it's because I took a job there and I liked it so much. And we bought it on auction. She passionate about real estate, so she bought it, and without any other plan. So we live there 3, 4, 5 months a year, and then we come back here. That's what we're doing. We were there a little longer this year because of COVID. But how are you doing? I'm doing fine. We had COVID in January for about a couple of weeks. Very low cases. We get our second vaccination this week. Yeah, we got 2 boys. We got
please
You got a call.
return to your area, and if you have the prayer booklet on page 4, you find the words El Malay Rachamim. It's the memorial prayer that we recite after the burial has been accomplished. The casket has been covered. Its physical remains be protected. So now we turn our attention to his neshama, his soul. In this prayer, it makes reference to Larry's Hebrew name, Aryeh ben Yehuda Rachel, but also it says about his soul, his neshama, Yitzro b'tzor hachayim et nishmato. May his soul be bound up in the bond of chayim, of life. His soul be bound up in the bond of chayim, the living, you, his precious family and his friends. So as we chant these words, if you're able, would you please rise? El Malay Rachamim Shochein B'Maromim Amse Menucha Nechona Al Kanfei Hashchina B'Malot Kedoshim V'Kodrim V'Zohar Rakia Matirim Et Nishmat Aryeh ben Yehuda Rachel Shalach L'Olamo Began Eden Tiyeh Menuchato Lachein Bara Rachamim Yasirehu B'Seter Kanafav Le'olamim B'Yitzror HaChayim Et Nishmato Adonai Hu Nachalato V'yanuach b'shalom al mishkavo v'nomar Amen. Let us say together, O God, exalted and full of compassion, we pray that you will grant perfect peace and eternal comfort in your sheltering presence to the soul of Larry Lipman. God of mercy, protect his soul forever. May his soul be bound up in the bond of eternal life. Adonai, you are his portion. May you rest in peace. Let us say, Amen. On the very next page, we have the words of the Kaddish Yatom, Warner's Kaddish, page 5. Yitgadal, the Yitkadash, Shemera, Be'almad, the Barak, Cherusei, the Yamlich, Malchut, the Chayechon, the Yomeachon, the Chayed, the Chol, Beit Yisrael, Ba'agala, Bizman, Kari, V'imru, Amen. Yeshemei, Rabban, Mevorach, Le'olam, Ul Almei, Almayah. Yitbarak, V'yishtabach, V'yita'ar, V'yitromam, V'yitnaseh, V'yitadar, V'yitaleh, V'yithalam, Shemei, V'kudashah, Richu, Le'ela min kol birchata, V'shirata, Tushbechata, V'nechemata, Da'amiram be'alma, V'imru, Amen. Shalom Rabba min Shemai, V'chayim aleinu v'al Yisrael, V'imru, Amen. Osei shalom v'morah, U'ya'asei shalom, aleinu v'al Yisrael, V'imru, Amen. So a little meditation on the very back. He speaks to our task at hand. It says, for the tides of love, as we say together, for the tides of love that death cannot suffer, for the companionship we share along life's path, for those gifts of heart and mind which have now become a precious heritage. For all this and more, we are grateful. Now help us, O compassionate God, not to dwell on sorrow and pain. Help us instead to find within our hearts the courage to return to the tasks of life and its joys. Concluding words we share with the family, and I ask all of the extended friends to share specifically for Debbie and Brian and Lauren and Mark and Paul and Michelle, and for their loved ones. As we say, repeat after me, please. Hamakom yenachem etchem b'toch
Sha'ar Avelei Zion Yerushalayim. May God comfort you, along with all who mourn in Zion and Jerusalem. Go forth with peace, go forth with life. As the family returns to the home, our love goes with them. Again, tonight, there will be a Zoom Shiva at 6 o'clock, and we'll report at some point tomorrow morning, probably exactly what time it will be for tomorrow. I know, and I think you know in your hearts, you saw it in their faces, and they expressed it to you, how touched they are by your outpouring of love and support.
We're supposed to. Double tap. Oh, it fell, I know, it fell over. I think I know. Where did I find that? I think I know where.